Just a short while ago, there was a surprise announcement by the Pakistani Prime Minister Imran Khan that the captured Indian Air Force pilot Abhinandan Varthaman is going to be released and tomorrow as a peace gesture, no less. And it was in a joint session of the Pakistan Parliament. I'm joined by Rezaul Laskar, our foreign editor, for more on this. Rezaul, did the announcement come as a surprise or was it expected?
Well, it was a bit of a surprise because personally I wasn't expecting this to happen this soon. I know that India has mounted quite a bit of pressure on Pakistan to get back Wing Commander Abhinandan, who was shot down during an engagement with Pakistani fighter jets yesterday somewhere over the LOC. So yes, to be very honest, I was thinking that Pakistan would probably use this issue as something to kind of try and force some sort of a de-escalation in the tensions with India. So it is a bit of a surprise.
Imran Khan said that it was a peace gesture, but does India's firm stance have much to do with the fact that they sort of backtracked and relented on this particular issue?
I think India's India's position would have been something that would have been factored into the decision making by the Pakistani side. We were told by government sources a little while before Mr. Khan spoke in the Pakistani parliament that India was not in any way going to allow the captured Indian pilot to be used as a bargaining chip or a negotiating tool. That was very, very clear. India had in fact sent a very clear message to Pakistan when it gave a démarche to the Pakistani Deputy High Commissioner yesterday, saying that Wing Commander Abhinandan must be treated humanely and immediately released. So India had already made its position very clear on this issue. So I think that was something that would have been factored into the decision making by both Pakistan's civilian government and the military leadership.
India has said that it is a flagrant disregard of the Geneva Convention, and this vulgar display of an injured personnel is not the right thing to do as far as the Geneva Convention is concerned. So, how much do you think did that sort of also could have compelled Pakistan to sort of come back and give this instruction and order the release of the pilots?
Well, the Geneva Conventions are very important sort of treaties for the treatment of prisoners in this sort of a situation. And most experts were of the opinion that some of the videos that the Pakistani military had put out yesterday, given to the Pakistani media, were a violation of certain provisions of the Geneva Conventions, especially the Geneva Convention related to the treatment of prisoners of war. It very, very clearly states that a prisoner cannot be exposed to public curiosity. It's defined as public curiosity. This is basically, you can't expose a prisoner to being manhandled or being abused in any way by civilians, and this is something that unfortunately happened before the Pakistani military personnel were able to take safeguards after he was captured yesterday. So I'm sure this is a factor that also would have figured, but I'm not certain that it was one of the main factors in this decision today.
Okay. So Imran Khan almost said that it's like an olive branch that he's extending to India, basically a culmination of all the things that he's been saying over the past 2 days since the pilot was captured. Do you believe that this move is going to de-escalate tensions between the two nations? How do you see this playing out?
Well, frankly, from whatever I've been picking up from Indian government officials and Indian government sources, the mood seems, at least till the release of this pilot, was that the Indian government is going to keep up the pressure on Pakistan, especially on the issue of terror. Officials have been very, very clear. They have been insistent. They have been saying that evidence has now been handed over about the Jaish-e-Mohammed, which was linked to the Pulwama terror attack, and India wants Pakistan to, they've said that the ball is in Pakistan's court. Pakistan has to take immediate, credible and verifiable action against terror groups, and that could get things moving. On the other hand, you have to look at things from Pakistan's perspective. Pakistan right now is not in a very good position economically. They have a lot of economic problems.
Yeah.
They are looking for a bailout from the IMF. They've turned to the Saudis. They've turned to UAE. They've turned to China for financial help, and they're not getting any aid from Washington, which is in fact has been in the last few days telling them repeatedly to crack down on terrorists operating from their soil. So in a situation like the current situation, if there were to be hostilities or even, this kind of deployment that Pakistan has had to make of its troops, this is costing money. And nobody in Pakistan, I think, would be, wanting to get into a bigger financial mess, with
Than they already are.
than they already are in.
Right.
So that's one issue. There's been a lot of pressure from the world community to get Pakistan to crack down on terror. They are on the FATF grey list. Possibly the only country that has spoken in their favor in the last few days has been China, but that's not surprising. And now there's been a fresh move to get the JEM chief Masood Azhar, who is based in Pakistan, onto the 1267 sanctions list at the UN. So these are factors that would have influenced
weighed
Pakistan
in heavily as far as this particular, and as far as the whole mood, of reconciliation.
Yes. I think there is a greater, a desire for having some sort of de-escalation on the Pakistani side than on the Indian side.
Okay, just as a person who's lived in Pakistan for years and worked in Pakistan for years, what is, yes, we talked about the mood in the Indian government and the Indian establishment at present, that they want Pakistan to act on terror, and besides that, there is also the world community which is now totally telling Pakistan that you must act decisively against terrorists that are there on your soil. What is the sentiment in Pakistan with regard to terror which is harbored on their own soil?
Well, Pakistan has a very strange relationship with the terrorist groups that are based on its soil. You have to remember, you have to go back to the time of the Soviet occupation of Afghanistan. These groups were actually raised and funded with the help of the Pakistani military to fight the Soviets in Afghanistan. And they were backed at the time even by the US. And these are the guys who, after the Soviets were defeated in Afghanistan, had nothing else to do. So they started turning to other places. They turned towards Kashmir, they turned within Pakistan itself. And then you had the rise of the Pakistani Taliban and other groups. Now, what Pakistan has done in the last few years is it has taken a lot of military action against groups that were carrying out attacks within Pakistan. What hasn't happened is any sort of action against the groups that target India. So you have Laskar-e-Toiba, you have Jaish-e-Mohammed, you have Hizbul Mujahideen, which is a Kashmiri group, but leadership is based in Pakistan. So virtually we have no evidence of action being taken against these groups. So that's a crucial area. If Pakistan really wants to prove that it is changing, I think there will have to be some action against these groups.
Right. So what you're basically saying is that while the IAF pilot is now being released and that we can count as a victory for India, going forward we don't really know, for now at least, how the hostilities are going to de-escalate. This might be a first step in that direction.
Well, I would like to be cautiously optimistic, but we have huge unresolved issues. India has been pressing on the issue of terrorism. Prime Minister Imran Khan, when he spoke, raised the issue of Kashmir. So it's clear that they want even that to be addressed. Whether that's going to happen, these are the factors that are going to be in play as over the next few days, and we will find out. We'll get a slightly clearer picture of whether we are moving towards a de-escalation or whether this sort of tension is going to persist for some more time.
Thank you so much for your time, Rezaul. We'll come back to you with more updates. Keep watching HindustanTimes.com.